Welcome, kings and queens, to another episode of Unapologetic, your number one podcast. This is the show where kings and queens tell their legacies and on. So get ready for the gems to drop and pull up to the table because we're ready. Welcome, everybody. I'm back. Millie Mill is in the building. We're right here on Unapologetic, your number one podcast. And of course, this is Saturday too. We working hard. I like that. But today, man, it's been what, a year? We just got done talking about it too. A year and a few months.
Yep.
And I finally have her on the show. Thank you, Jesus. It was worth the wait, though. I can't wait to see how she's going to give us these gems. Please welcome Miss Ciarra Adkins right here on your number one podcast. How you doing, baby?
I am good. Thank you. I am so good.
We've been working so hard to actually have this conversation, man, because she has so many great things that she's doing in her community. Can y'all please welcome Miss Ciarra Adkins right here on Unapologetic, the founder of AQUME Foundation. Is AQUME?
AQUME Foundation.
AQUME. I keep saying AQUME. I feel like that's a more like unique name or something like that.
It is, and we'll talk about that. We will.
Yeah. Thank you for actually taking the time out on this beautiful Saturday. Hopefully it'll be beautiful today. I think it's supposed to rain, but we're going to enjoy it all as the same on this Saturday. I understand your busy schedule, and it makes me feel so special that people like yourself come on to the show and join us on our journey of becoming better, bigger, and better than we were before. So I appreciate that.
100%. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. As soon as we met, over a year ago, I was like, okay, I got to be a part of this. I have to support what he's doing. So we're all about elevating these voices.
Thank you. But more so, you've been elevating not just your voice, but others as well. Your work speaks for itself. It's amazing of what you took from inside your passion and then made a reality. Like that's a real thing with me when I have a good conversation like with a person like yourself. I always try to see what pushes you, what gets you up in every day in the morning and do this so well. And so when I did my research, on you, girl, you got some education. You got a lot of education. But before I get into your profession, what was that always the goal when you was like in school? Like, I could just be dominant in the books.
I am a natural born nerd. I am. My mom tells this story because one day she didn't take me to school, right? So apparently I was knocking on her door and I was like, Mama, you gotta take me to school. I got a reputation to uphold, because I was trying to get
Wait a minute. You said that at what age?
I was 6 years old. And education was really important to me. And they gave awards to the students who never missed a day of class. I wanted to be that student who got the perfect attendance award. I'm the student who sit in the front row of the class.
Oh yeah. I know who you are in class.
I am that nerd. Like
yeah. But what's crazy is that regardless if you are that type of student, you can see the benefits of that hard work that's sitting in front of the teacher, that always asking that first question, not afraid to be wrong, because most people raise their hand in class like, man, I don't want to sound stupid. You don't care. I need to know.
That's me all day. I will ask the minute questions. I'm not big on tangents, but I definitely want to understand, the history of why. So
okay. So you took that same being of yourself and transitioning into, higher learning, higher education, because you are a lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you guide? Like I I have a friend that's a lawyer as well. I've seen one of her books. No, that book thicker, man. I said you can put wheels on this and use this as a car. This is a big book. How do you guys do it? Like, what drives you to constantly strive for that?
For me, well, again, I'll tell a story from my parents. Apparently, I told them I wanted to be a lawyer before I was even old enough to know what a lawyer was. So I innately knew that this was my path before I even really understood the vocabulary. And they tell that story so often that I'm like, wow, how did I know? Because so many of us are still
That's exactly what I'm about to
at
ask.
our age, right? You know, at our big age, we're still trying to figure out who we are and what we want to do. So the fact that I knew law so young, I think it was just divine, right? I felt like it was something that was placed in my old soul as a young child. But to your question, like, how did I get through and push through? I think that it comes from experiencing so much adversity and diversity, being born and raised until I was 14 in Detroit. We're talking inner city Detroit proper in the 90s, having a brother with a disability. So ADA accommodations in the 90s, we're losing libraries, we're losing parks, public facilities, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just how our people over there are making it. It boggles the mind, right?
Right, it does.
So growing up and seeing that, and then as I got older, understanding that there is not one facet of our life, what we're allowed to do or what we're prohibited from doing, that is not rooted in some type of law, be it city, state, federal, international. We are guided by a set of rules and books that our people don't even touch or seem to understand, right? And I started to really get on my equity journey as I got older. And I said, I can't make any changes unless I know how to speak the language, how to get into the rooms with the right people. And for me, that felt like becoming a lawyer, learning how to do the research and ask the right questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't expect that answer. That was a good one. That was a good one. God, that, keep going. No, don't stop. I'm gonna go to the next level. That was, but all right. I have a counter question to that. Most people would say that, well, how can you fix a system that was already broken to begin with?
You know, that's a good question, but I feel like that is the, how to say it. I feel like that's the question of someone who's not ready to make the right changes, because it doesn't matter how it started, it matters how you end. And yes, the foundation of our country's laws were rooted in racism and colonialism and all of this kind of stuff, right? So from the very, very beginning of our history, it's all wrong. Most of the laws were made with all of that in mind, right? It's embedded in the DNA, all of these isms that we have to face against. So if I start my question with how do I fix what's already broken, I'm already saying it can't be done. So me, I'm looking at it as, you know what? I probably can't touch every single facet of everything, but what is my lane and what systemic, transformative, historic thing can I do to make things better for my people? And that's where I go. And that's where I fell into the equity, the law, the philanthropy, like the economic and racial justice. You know, I felt like those were my lanes where I was destined to make a change.
Oh, you're gonna be in the history books. I can see it now. I can see it now.
Because we got to change our mindset. We have to change
that exactly. That's you. I like how you're a lawyer, but you still are yourself at the same time. You're able to break down references that, you're right, for most people, in my opinion, can't fathom, because law is contradicting as well. So you got to be able to, I guess, to know when to walk that straight line into which way to turn, left or right. I know it's like a three-way street somewhat, but
oh yeah, 100%.
It's like a part of it though. So I get that now that you break it down like that. Thank you for that. Because I was also wondering, I'm like, man, how are you able to win a case? Because when you sit and watch court cases, well, when I do, I always try to follow the story. That's what pretty much where you're trying to, you're trying to tell a convincing story to an audience. But the main audience is the judge, correct? So it's
judge or jury, depending on where you're at. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So you gotta appease to the group or the individual who has the most power at that time. So it's like, okay, is this really justice? Is this, then because you start really breaking it down and thinking like, is this just? Am I'm doing a justified thing in this moment? Because am I appeasing to each person or am I telling the truth?
This is true. And, sometimes we're up against unjust laws all the time, or we're up against laws that don't feel good morally all the time. And you have to work within a system and understand it before you can start to change it, right? Law is just built on precedent, the back and forth of the times, essentially, and the best orator, as you just described it, who was in the courtroom, who made the best case. And I know it's super simple, but, we want to break it down to it. Essentially, that's how it goes. But when we think about justice, I think that you have to have your own personal foundation so that you don't waver. So for me, I had to define, what does justice feel like for me? And for me, that's racial justice, that's economic equity for my people and my community. And it also means extending beyond the Black community to the totality of the BIPOC community, because I don't do the silos and the, crossing of and all that kind of stuff. So we always lead with the Black experience, but we understand that our brothers and sisters have been dealing with a lot of the same things, just in different times. So I think understanding what your foundation of justice looks like for you, and then how can you influence the system that you're operating in. For me, in law, justice looks like access to my people. So I did not become a prosecuting attorney intentionally. I did not become a defense attorney intentionally. I did not do family law or any of those areas of law where they try and silo Black attorneys. Like, you guys need criminal representation. You guys have broken families and all this type of stuff. It's like, don't try and just put me into that space. So I'm a property attorney. I'm a business attorney. So I'm teaching my people in a space where we had no resources growing up. And for me, that's justice for, having legal access. So 25% of my legal practice, free services to low-income communities, period. Off the bat, we dedicate those hours every year. And we had so many instances growing up where I lived by the mantra, you get the justice that you can afford in this country. And it's very sad to see. I think it still holds true to this day. So for me, when I think about what does justice look like, I'm giving access for the next person to not have the same experience that I had. Helping our businesses. We know entrepreneurship is such a big pathway. Small businesses are the backbone of this country, despite, what NASDAQ and everything says.
Wow, she said it. Oh my God, I did not expect that one.
So we have to support those, right?
That's true. That is so true.
And the barriers are real. When you need legal advice so that you can get your business to the next stage, or just want to make a sound HR decision, or not open yourself up to unnecessary liability, you can't expect a $5,000 legal bill, right? We have to make it more accessible for our smaller entrepreneurs. So that's a big focus for me. Trademark protections, copyrights, all of that IP, helping people figure out licensing and franchising, the business, the contracts, learning how to really partner well with people, internal operations and HR and stuff. For me, like, my personal view is that's teaching our people. When we position them to really be able to compete against our counterparts, then that's that level playing field. That's where I'm starting to see that justice piece.
Woo! Girl, my glass is fogging up. How much?